All right, let's get this thing started, okay? Hey fam, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well and welcome to the the September reading wrap up. Welcome to fall. I'm so excited to have this month wrapped up and to talk to you guys about some of the book stuff that has been going on and just the personal things that have been going on in my life recently. The big one being is that I have been going through, September was a really hard time for me and we had a big book slump in September. I'm talking I only read 4 books. And granted, one of these books was like 800 pages and it was really intense, deep world building, all that stuff, but it was kind of a hard reading month and I am going through a bit of a reading slump, which is kind of unfortunate. I am really excited for the fall season. I feel like October always brings in a lot of fun, cozy, it just is a really fun, cozy vibe to start reading in. So I don't think my book slump is going to last. I think I'm going to actually be really excited to read a lot of fun, spooky books, cozy books, fallish books. I'm actually looking forward to it quite a bit. But that being said, we did have quite a big book slump in September. I feel like I just had a lot of stuff going on. So one, it was just hard to find time to sit down and read, especially, just in a new apartment now. I have new routine, new schedule. I, have had a lot of family stuff happening. And so it's just been kind of hard to really find time to just sit down and read without feeling like I don't know, I've been feeling kind of a little bit restless lately. So that's kind of what's been going on and why we didn't read too much. But I also had a hard time because one of the books I was reading just took up a lot of mental energy. I guess we can get right into it if we want. So the first book and the biggest book that we read, and it was also the last book I read because it literally took me the entire month to read it, that was Game of Thrones by George R. Martin. I guess R. Martin, whatever. And we read just the very first book, Game of Thrones. I believe it's A Song of Ice and Fire. Is what it says, but I think it's just the original first version of Game of Thrones. I actually started reading this because Haley Pham read it on her Instagram or her booktube account, and I saw that she had read it and I was like, oh, like if she really liked it, then I should try reading it too. And I just had a hard time reading it. I think one of my biggest issues is that I had the physical copy at the beginning from my library, but then it was due at the library and I couldn't renew it because there were other people who had that book on hold. So I had to switch over to the audiobook version. This book goes through so many different point of views. Like you're constantly switching every single chapter to a different point of view and you just never really know because of the narrator. It's one narrator for the entire thing. It's really hard to figure out who's who and it was just really confusing because I would be listening to it and he was so monotone. I would always be like, oh, I don't even know whose point of view I'm in right now because I would just forget. So that was kind of hard and just a little confusing for me. I only rated it 3.5 stars. I like the concept of it. I think it's super fun, but I feel like if I would have maybe read the physical book, it would have been a little bit more exciting for me. However, the physical book is 800 pages. So it's a big boy and I just had a hard time digesting everything. And so I did have to go back and honestly, I spark notes everything after I'd read a couple of chapters or listen to a couple of chapters just to make sure that I got it all. Which when that happens, I feel like the writing isn't something that I really was able to comprehend and gear towards. So that was my unfortunate review of Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people love it. I know there's a huge show following behind the show and everything, and I will probably not be watching the show. I also don't think I will continue to read the series, and maybe I'll give it another shot maybe next year when I have more time to kind of sit down and really read a big book and really take a lot of time to learn about a new world and new people and characters and all of that stuff. But for me right now in this time of my life, it just was not the vibe, unfortunately. But it does have a really high rating on Goodreads. There's over 2 million ratings and it has a 4.44 star review. So it's obviously a very well loved and very well written book. It was just kind of, I think, more of an unfortunate timing for me. So that's why we rated it 3.5 stars. I am intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by how the show also portrays it because I did not realize this until after I started reading that the series is actually incomplete. George R. Martin has not finished writing the entire series. And so the show actually went through all the books that they could. And then the last, I think, 2 books or the last 2 seasons, they just kind of did their own thing with it. So that's one thing that I also was kind of just I don't know if I'll continue to read them because I want to be able to read the whole series. And if he has been really taking his sweet old time writing the last 2 books, then I don't know if I think it's gonna happen. And I also heard that he's had writer block. And so I don't know if there will ever be, a completion to the series. So we'll see. But right now it's not looking too hopeful for me. All right, the next book that we read, I actually read this in, I think 2 days. It was really, really good, a very, very fun thriller for me, and it was a good like break in between reading Game of Thrones. And this is a book that I actually saw on a pin on Pinterest when I was working one day. I was just kind of scrolling through and I saw this and I was like, well, that looks like a fun book. So I went ahead and reserved it from the library. It was immediately available, and that book is Such a Quiet Place by, wait for it, Megan Miranda. This book was actually a Reese's Book Club pick. I really love it when Reese Witherspoon does her book club picks because they're always, in my opinion, I think super good. I actually have a couple more in my bedroom that I've also picked up from the library that I want to read soon, but this one was very interesting. Very fast read for me as well. I did get like the large print version, so I think that one was a little bit it might have been why it was a little bit easier to read because I could flip the pages really quickly. There is a mysterious murder in like this ideal, beautiful town. Everyone there is perfect, or not perfect, but everyone there just gets along really well. Everyone has good jobs. It's like your picture perfect scene. You see all this stuff and you follow one person. Her name is Harper, and she has a roommate named Ruby. Now, Ruby was accused of the murder of this couple that died by carbon monoxide poisoning a couple of years before. And Ruby gets arrested, she goes to jail, and then she gets released because they found evidence proving her innocence, essentially. And she moves back in with Harper, and the whole town, the whole neighborhood is just kind of very skeptical. Well, then Ruby mysteriously dies. And so obviously that prompts Harper into trying to launch an investigation of her own into figuring out what happened, trying to figure out who maybe killed Ruby and you know, if Ruby actually committed these murders in the first place and all of this stuff. So it was kind of fun because it was a little bit of like a thriller whodunit type of situation. You saw Harper like get to know all these different people and you had to figure out who it was that killed her. And it was actually really fun to read. I definitely had a few people in mind that I thought were like the ones who did it, the ones who killed her, and then completely was wrong. It was a complete shift. That being said, I only rated this, again, 3 stars just because I do think that I will probably forget about this pretty quickly. The characters, I won't remember their names. I'll be able to say, oh yeah, I read that book, but I'm actually gonna be able to really remember and tell you what it's about without looking at the back cover. No, probably not. Like, honestly, probably not. And that's okay because it's still just like a fun thriller book. And for me, those types of books can be good palate cleansers or just filler while I'm trying to get through a bigger one like Game of Thrones. So overall, I was still really happy with it. I thought it was fun. I feel like a lot of people would be able to read it. It would be a really fast read. It's a very entertaining read, but just probably not one that's gonna maybe stick with you for a long time. Maybe it will, but I don't think it will stick with me for a long time. I will say, I feel like the first half of the book was quite, I don't want to say boring, but it wasn't necessary because you have to get to know all the characters because there's a lot of characters in the book and you have to kind of get to know the backstory of it. But I feel like the author really went deeper into the backstory of everybody than she really needed to. And then the second half of the book, it was like boom, 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 boom. Like it was just so quickly, like rushed through almost, which I feel bad saying that it was rushed through, but I do kind of feel like the whole narrative of Harper actually figuring out who did everything and figuring out all the clues, like that was so rushed, and she didn't really have a lot of time to like explain everything and to go through all of that stuff. I do wish that the author had done that a little bit more. I think that would have made the book a little bit more interesting, instead of having to like get a ton of backstory on everybody. Like that was just a little too much for me. So that's why I rated it 3.5 stars. I feel like it was just really rushed at the end. I feel like it's a book that I'll probably easily forget. So moving on. This next book that I read, I actually listened to it on audiobook, and it's, I think, a really short one. I think it's like 8 hours or something like that, but oh my gosh. This one is a real tearjerker. This book is called Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. This book has 54,000 ratings and 4.13 stars, and I rated this book 4 stars as well. Man, you start off, you go through 2 different like time periods. So you do like now, and then you go back like 10 to 15 years prior. This woman, she is reading a book by this guy that she realizes is somebody that she grew up with, and he is writing her story. She had a really rough, tragic upbringing. Her father was extremely abusive to her and basically left her on her own all the time. He was a drunk, he couldn't hold down a job, he was always out and about and missing, and she was just this little girl going to school. And her neighbor boy, he would come over and he helped her, and even though his mom was also not necessarily a great mom, she kind of took her under her wing, and they kind of helped her out a little bit and helped her get fed and made sure that she had like proper like sanitation for school, and you know that she was like cleaned up and everything. And they end up falling in love, these 2 kids, and then she gets taken away. She gets put into CPS and has this whole life story. You know, it's just crazy. And she's realizing that this guy is writing her story and he's making all this money off of it, and she's really mad at him. So she kind of goes on a hunt to try to find him, confront him, and as she's doing that, she's still reading the book because she hasn't finished it yet. So it's just really, really sweet and heartwarming to see this whole story unfold and this whole thing come to be. I don't really necessarily feel like it's super realistic. I don't know if that would really happen in real life. Maybe it would, but I just like thought it was really, really cute. I did feel like the ending was a little bit rushed as well, like how everything kind of came to be. It was like, that just wouldn't happen in real life. I just don't think something like that would happen in real life. So you'll have to read the book though. It's so good. I really, really did enjoy it. I thought it was really, really cute, but also very, very touching, and it tugs on the heartstrings a lot, especially with the whole, foster care and abuse. There's a lot of abuse in it. So there's a trigger warning for you, but it was just something that once I started listening to it, I couldn't stop listening to it. It was just really, really good for me. I think I finished it again in maybe 1 or 2 days. It was a really quick listen for me, probably a really quick read as well. So I recommend the book. I think you would like it, but do be careful with those content warnings because it can be triggering for some people, I'm sure. And the last book that we read in this month was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I rated this 4 stars actually, which I'm surprised that I rated this. This was actually the first book that I read this month. We're going backwards, but I don't know if I'm going to continue reading the Throne of Glass series. I know a lot of people love this so much. I actually have the next book. I actually do have it from the library in my bedroom right now on my TBR cart, but I just don't know. I think I kind of just need a break from the Massiverse, to be completely honest. I have a lot of Sarah J. Maas books back here I have ACOTAR over here on my shelves back here, and I do like Sarah J. Maas. I just feel like a lot of it is kind of the same stuff over and over and over again. However, in this book, I do like the whole, it gives me Hunger Games types of vibes where they all have tributes, essentially, to people that are working to free themselves and to give themselves immunity, and she's able to do that, and I just think that's so great for this character, but I'm just not sure. I don't know. There's a lot of people I don't trust. A lot of people I don't trust in this book, which is concerning for me, but it's still really, really good. I'm excited for it. I do think maybe I should read the next book. I don't know now. It doesn't necessarily end on a cliffhanger, but it kind of ends in a way where you're like, okay, I don't trust what just happened, and there's probably, something's probably gonna be up. And you also have no clue what she's just signed her life away for in this next book and the whole rest of the series. So it's gonna be an interesting read, I think. I'm not sure though if I'm gonna read the second book right now. I know I do have it. I might pull it out. I feel like they're pretty quick reads for me, especially because they are technically marketed towards the young adult audience. These ones aren't gonna be spicy or as bad as like ACOTAR, which is definitely more of a mature adult audience. Young adult, it's like they're in high school, those types of that's what this is kind of marketed and geared towards. So we'll see. I'm not sure, but we'll see. This one has over 1 million ratings. 1.7 ratings, and it's a 4.18 star on Goodreads. So a lot of people love the book. A lot of people love the series. I know I have a lot of friends that are like, if you don't want to read ACOTAR, get into Throne of Glass. I just think because I've read ACOTAR already, I've read Fourth Wing, I just don't know if I want to get into it right now. It's also a really, really, really long series, and with the fall coming up, there's so many other books that I want to read, so maybe we'll push it off to like the beginning of next year or something to give myself something to look forward to. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, regardless, Throne of Glass was still a good book. I did like it. I think I liked Assassin's Blade, like the novellas prequel thing, more though. I will have to say that. I think I like that book more. It was just fun to kind of see her get to the point where she is now at this point in the series. So, and that is everything that we read this month. Like I said, it was a very, very, very short reading month for me. And I am officially 6 books behind schedule for my reading goal. I've had my goal to read 105 books this year, and I'm at 72. So I really need to start ramping it up. I also feel like I'm gonna start maybe getting into a little bit more of like the holiday reads, like the Christmas reads and the Thanksgiving reads. Like I'll have a lot of free time, so I can probably get smaller books, shorter books, and really knock those out. I think I've been getting behind because I have been reading a lot of big, heavier books lately, and I've actually been doing a little bit of thrifting. I've been thrifting a lot of books recently, and I've been finding a lot of really good ones, but they've all been pretty big. So I need to go and find some like smaller, shorter books to help me kind of get back up to where I'm at, and then I can start reading the bigger books and have a little bit more time and maybe some more mental energy to be able to gear towards those once things kind of calm down around here. But that is it for today's video. If you guys have made it this far, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below what you guys read for the month of September, and also if you have book recommendations for the month of October or even November, go ahead and drop those down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys are reading or what you guys recommend to me, and I will see you all in my next video very, very soon. Bye.